When you think of Thailand, what comes to mind? For most of us, it's probably those picture-perfect beaches, the bustling cities, that incredible food. It's the dream vacation, right? But behind that beautiful paradise, there's a whole other story, an environmental one that's actually pretty complex. So let's get into it.
Because here's the thing. Every dream vacation has a footprint. And for a global tourism magnet like Thailand, that footprint is, well, it's getting pretty big. So that really brings us to the main question we're going to tackle here. What is the actual environmental cost of paradise? And, more importantly, what can we do about it?
To really get our heads around this, we first have to understand the sheer scale of the situation. You see, the hospitality industry is literally the engine of Thai tourism, but it's an engine that is incredibly hungry for energy.
And just how big is that engine? Well, get this. The tourism sector makes up a massive 20% of Thailand's entire GNP. And what's the backbone of all that? Over 150,000 hotels, all needing power around the clock. So you can see how this economic powerhouse creates a pretty huge environmental puzzle.
Okay, so where are all these emissions coming from? Well, this chart breaks it down pretty clearly. The biggest piece of the pie, by a long shot, is just general electricity consumption. And a huge driver of that is the constant need for air conditioning to keep all those hotel rooms cool and comfy. But it's not just that. You've also got water and waste treatment. Even the food you eat. It all adds up to those greenhouse gas emissions that, trap heat in our atmosphere.
Now, what's really interesting is that this isn't a one-size-fits-all problem. The challenge looks totally different depending on where you are in the country. Let's take a look at 3 major tourist hubs, because they each tell a very different story.
So in a place like Phuket, you've got these huge resorts, and they're pulling a ton of power from an electricity grid that's still pretty carbon heavy. Then you go to Chiang Mai, and it's a different picture. It's more about smaller hotels, but lots of them have older, less efficient systems for heating and cooling. And then there's Bangkok, which is kind of its own beast. It's a really diverse market and has actually made some good progress on efficiency, but it's still dealing with the challenge of just sheer volume.
So acknowledging the problem is one thing, but here's where it gets exciting. The solutions. There is an entire toolkit of green technologies just waiting to help transform Thailand's hotel industry for the better.
And here it is, the Green Tech Toolkit. We're talking about the big, obvious stuff, like solar panels and wind power, for sure. But there are also some really clever, more subtle technologies. I mean, things like heat pumps that provide heating without fossil fuels, or waste heat recovery systems that literally capture and reuse energy. And even advanced metering that helps hotels pinpoint exactly where they can slash their energy use. It's all there.
But of all those tools, there's one that's a total game changer. I mean, this quote says it all, right? Solar power is at the very heart of the solution. The potential is just enormous. We're talking about more than enough rooftop space on these hotels to generate a huge, huge chunk of their own clean energy. It's this massive untapped resource, just sitting there, right on top of their buildings.
But having all the right tools is one thing. You still need a plan, a blueprint. And that is exactly where this strategic roadmap comes in. And by the way, when we say net zero, it just means balancing the greenhouse gases you produce with the amount you take out of the atmosphere. And this isn't about flipping a switch overnight. Not at all. It's a really carefully planned transition that's going to take years.
And here's how that plan breaks down. It's all done in phases. First up, in the short term, it's all about getting the basics right. Installing those solar panels, getting smart energy management systems online. Then, in the medium term, the goal is to scale all that up. And finally, the long-term plan is all about fine-tuning, using data to create custom strategies for each region and just making sure the whole transition sticks.
Now, none of this is happening in a vacuum. This entire roadmap is designed to help Thailand hit its national climate goals under the Paris Agreement. The target is a 20 to 25% cut in greenhouse gas emissions by 2030, and let me tell you, getting the massive hotel sector on board is absolutely critical to making that happen.
Okay, so this all sounds really promising, right? But it's important to be realistic here. The road to net zero is definitely not a straight line. There are some real obstacles, and we've got to understand them if we're going to get past them. So what are the big hurdles? Well, it pretty much boils down to 3 things: money, know-how, and policy. First, green tech can have some high upfront costs, and that's a huge barrier for the smaller hotels that make up so much of the industry. Second, a lot of places just don't have the technical expertise to choose and install the right stuff. And finally, you really need strong government policies, things like financial incentives and clear rules to push everyone in the right direction.
So what does this all mean for the future of tourism? Well,
If, and it's a big if these challenges can be overcome, what we're looking at is a total redefinition of what it even means to travel. It's a chance to transform this industry from a major polluter into a real model for sustainability.
So, the key takeaway here? A net zero hotel industry in Thailand isn't just a pipe dream. It's ambitious, for sure, but it is achievable. It's going to take the right technology, smart policies from the government, and a true team effort from hotels, industry groups, and local communities. Everybody has to work together on this.
And that kind of brings the whole story right back to us, doesn't it? As travelers, the choices we make, the hotels we decide to stay at, that can all help push this change forward. Which leaves us with a pretty cool question to think about. As this green revolution continues, will that next dream vacation you take be a net zero one?